So Clyde, let's go back to the early ages, get started. Obviously, you go through basketball. I saw that you got cut from a couple of teams. All like me, I got cut from a team. But you find yourself, and I guess a friend of yours, Michael Johnson.
Oh.
One of your childhood friends, Michael Young. I'm sorry.
Michael
Young got you, your Guy Lewis, your coach, to look at you to go to Houston. How'd that happen?
Well, in Houston, if you're 6'7" and you got pretty good skills, even though there were some games, there was a lot of talent my size, right? They were looking for those big 7'1", 7'2" guys. So they were more focused on them or the really good point guards. The small forwards or the two guards that were 6'7", they thought of them guys as being dime a dozen. You know, when you're in New Mexico, I mean, think about it. They overlooked you 100 times, right? Yeah. So you know what that's like. And so, and even though I had games where I put up 35 points, 27 rebounds, 20 assists and eight blocks and 8 steals, didn't matter. They still overlooked. Why? Because a lot of guys don't pay attention. And that's when I found out there are a lot of guys who are not good at their jobs. They let stuff stick, it slide right on by you. But the one guy that who called me all the time was Jerry West. Jerry West was like, boy, you'd be a great Laker. With your athletic talent and things you can do, he said, we'd love to have you. And this was my sophomore year at the University of Houston, and we were Phi Slamma Jamma. But that's when you realize, you just got to make it happen, because if you rely on the people to discover you may be in for a little bit of a disappointment.
That's right.
So
go ahead.
With Phi Slamma Jamma, what was your first impression of Hakeem when you first met him, and how did Phi Slamma Jamma come together?
Well, Phi Slamma Jamma was Guy Lewis's brainchild, and it didn't happen the way you think it happened. Like, I wanted to play there because they had a guy named Rob Williams. Remember him, Coop?
Yeah.
Rob Williams could play, dude. I played against him in high school. He was a year ahead of me, and he would get 40 points with 2 guys like me on him the whole game in a boxing one. He was really good, right? And then they had a guy named Larry Mishaw, and I knew how good those guys were. And so Michael Young, 6'7", was a player of the year in the state of Texas, and he and I were just good friends. We used to play every day and practice on our game. So I said, Michael, wouldn't it be great if we got together with Rob and Larry Mishaw and stayed home? Well, he had offers to UCLA, Coop, and he could go anywhere in the world. I only had about 10 offers: Texas Tech, Rice, New Mexico, your place. And let me tell you. So I said, Michael, my options are limited, but I really want to stay home and go to U of H. Well, so I convinced Mike. Well, U of H wasn't even recruiting me, to be honest with you. Then they finally called at the witching hour, because let me tell you what, and I'll make this quick. There was a coach at Texas Tech. His name was Gerald Myers. Rob Evans was the assistant coach. You know Rob for many years. Well, Rob used to live in my house, right? And I gave them a verbal of Texas Tech that I was going to play for them, right? Wow. And every time they would send me, I would get a plane ticket and go there on the weekends my senior year, and I would just destroy their guys. And so the coach would go, boy, are you sure the University of Houston not offering you a scholarship? I go, they have not even called me, dude.
Wow.
So he thought that was the funniest thing in the world, right? So he sent Guy Lewis, him and Guy Lewis were best friends, drinking buddies. He sent Guy Lewis a whole letter back then.
Wow.
It wasn't Pony Express, but it was a letter. He said, Guy Lewis, I'm about to get the best player in the state of Texas, and you dummy, you don't even know who he is. Well, if you know,
so he recruited against himself.
Yeah, exactly. But he thought I was already committed. It was a week before the signing date. Well, the letter got there early, and Guy Lewis is one of the most competitive guys in the whole world. Guy Lewis is on a mission to find out who this was. So he started calling everybody. Hey, Michael Cooper, you're one of our recruits. Who's the best player you played against? And if he said, Kareem, well, Kareem's on the list. Well, he got to Michael Young, who's the best player in the state at the time. He said, Michael, who's the best player you played against? Michael said, he said, that kid at Sterling is every bit as good as me, if not better, right? He said, Clyde Drexler. Well, I wasn't on his list. 30 minutes later, Guy Lewis was at my house. And this was 2 days before signing day, Coop. So, and I'm mad because I wanted to go there the whole time. So he finally comes over, he calls, and he's got his letter of offering you a scholarship. When he gets to and my mom, she was clued in on everything. My mom's my buddy. She said, you make sure you're nice when he gets here, right? So when he came in the door, I answered the door. I said, where the hell you guys been? So my mom said, that's it. You get in your room.